My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. I host a show on CBC Radio 1. It's called Commotion, and Hey, that's very nice of you. Okay, thank you. That's very nice of you. Thank you.
I take it that's one of your people on
Yeah.
gassing you up.
Yeah, Ryan was not going to do this quietly. That was not going to be the day that he would do this. Okay, let me introduce you to who we have sitting right next to me here. For almost 20 years, NPR's Tiny Desk Concerts has given the internet a chance to see some of the biggest artists that we have and some of the most promising upcoming talents in an incredibly intimate live setting. You've seen the live setting, right? It's that setting that is made for some truly unforgettable moments.
It's a really dark time for me. I'm going through a lot.
By a lot, you mean drugs?
I wouldn't.
Drugs?
No, it's a natural plan.
I'm not judging.
I don't think.
I'm just saying.
I'm not an addict.
You want to talk about it?
Bobby Carter is host, producer of Tiny Desk. Tiny Desk is a space that has given us a combined billions and billions of views. Those billions have come from Dua Lipa and Adele and Justin Bieber. But the story that really compels us at Commotion, the story that we're really interested in, is this parallel story of Tiny Desk as a growing institution, as a crucial and trusted hub for all things Black pop. And one of the people responsible for that shift is Bobby, who's the series producer, and he's also the host of it. Again, give it up one more time for Bobby Carter.
Thank you.
But okay, we're gonna do this through some images. Okay, so first, I want you to take a look at some of Tiny Desk's earliest journeys, starting with this one right there. So what you have, who is that, Bobby?
That is the very first artist to play a Tiny Desk. Her name is Laura Gibson. That was in 2008. And I was not a part of the team yet.
But you were at NPR.
I was at NPR. I sat probably 10 feet away in a little glass booth. I was a digital media engineer, so I was chopping up audio to throw on the internet, wishing that I could do this.
Tell me about watching this happen. First of all, how did this one come to be?
Yeah, interesting story. So the series creators, Bob Boylan and Stephen Thompson, they were in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest and music festival, indie music festival. And Laura Gibson was on the bill, performing at a spot that was supposed to be a music venue, but apparently it was just a bar playing NCAA March Madness basketball at the time. Laura Gibson is a very soft-spoken folk singer, and basically nobody was paying attention to Laura Gibson. So after the performance, kind of tongue-in-cheek joking, Stephen and Bob approached her and said, "Hey, I think you should just come to the office and do this. I think our office will be more suited for what you do." And she took them up on the offer. And when you watch this video, excuse me, at the very end of the video, Bob Boylan says, "This may be the start of something, or maybe not." And here we are.
I think about that time period and about the similar spaces, right, to Tiny Desk. MTV had Unplugged right here. In Canada, we had Much Music, had Intimate and Interactive. When you think about Tiny Desk, what do you think makes Tiny Desk a different space?
First of all, the intimacy. I think that's key. And now over the years, the thing is we have a fingerprint, right? When you see a Tiny Desk, you know exactly what it is because of those shelves, because it's in a regular office. Many artists come into the space thinking that that's a soundstage. It is not. And it's the first thing we tell artists, like, look, this is exactly what this is. This is a regular-ass desk in a regular-ass office. There's no great acoustics. It is just an office, so be prepared. But it's the intimacy. We strip away all of the bells and whistles. Even for as much as I love Unplugged, right? I grew up on Unplugged. We don't even give you that. Like, you can't, the monitors in front of the stage where the artists can hear themselves, we don't give you that. Mm-hmm. You either got it or you don't. And I think that's one of the things that really separates us from a lot of the music platforms.
It's like you're just showing up with your instrument and your voice. Good luck.
And you sing.
Yeah. We were talking backstage about how sometimes you just get a call out of nowhere, and it's a big artist, and they say, "Hey, I'm coming next month. You got any room?" And you're like, All right, we got to make room. But I assume that's not like the usual process of how it happens. So just like, walk me through somebody pitches an artist for Tiny Desk and then the booking process. How does a concert come to be?
A lot has changed over the years, especially early on. We would literally just look at tour schedules and find out who's coming to Washington, D.C. And we would say, hey, you got time to stop by the office and perform? It's no longer like that. We still do that in a sense, but now I get, personally, me, just as one of the producers, I get 150 to 200 emails per day from artists who want to play. Then there's the big picture artists or the artists that I'm looking to have. I'm still very much a music head. I'm a DJ, so I'm always sort of scouring the net, the streets for the things that I love that, for an artist that I would like to have. Then there's the 15, 20 other producers on the team who have the artists that they want, fielding the pitches that they get. So it is just a big melting pot. We gather, we huddle to figure out who we say yes to, who we make the hard decisions for. We shoot 3 shows a week. We publish 3 shows a week. It is a real machine. So, speaking to your point about last-minute situations where an artist may pop up and say, hey, I'm in town, I want to come do this. We like to save room, have room for those inevitable last-minute things that drop in. One that comes to mind. So, funny enough, I get pitched a lot of comedians coming to the desk, right? Hey, I'm a comedian, I want to come do a set, tiny comedian concert, right? Which could be a cool concept, but it could take on a life of its own, and we just don't have the resources to do it. But a couple months ago, I got an email that said, chocolate drop a Tiny Desk. And I'm like, what is this? I gotta take the meeting at least, right? And lo and behold, they go, even his team, Kevin Hart's team was in character. They were like, Dropper want to come in for April Fool's Day. And that was 2 weeks before April Fool's Day.
When I left, I thought that you didn't feel me. I thought that you guys didn't want to see me. But now I come back and I see that you feel me. I come back and I see you don't want to kill me.
We had to make it happen. I wasn't even there. I was in Greece for radio days. But it had to happen. So there's, circumstances sometimes, there are undeniable situations sometimes that we have to kind of go through with.
I mean, there's a disconnect maybe between the pace at which you're booking, because you just said, we're talking now and it's May and you booked all the way to August.
Yes.
But then, can I name the artist that you mentioned earlier? Because
Sure.
She's announced that she's got an album coming out.
Yeah.
But you get a call from Miley Cyrus, right?
Right.
And Miley's like, we gotta come next week. That's a case where you gotta go, all right, how do we make that happen?
We gotta make this happen. We, our team, they've grown to, they understand that this is production. And they shapeshift and they make things happen. The good thing is that, the thing about our team is that every single person is passionate about this thing and we wanna do the right thing and we all sort of share that same passion to kind of get out the right thing for the audience.
Okay, so Tiny Desk starts in 2008. You joined the team 2014. If I'm not mistaken, the very first Tiny Desk concert you produced was this one right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about this one. What am I seeing? What am I looking at?
That's my guy, Fonte. This is a duo. This is a group called the Foreign Exchange. Actually, one of the very first groups to put together an album over the internet before meeting each other. This was in 2014. This is probably a month or two after our big breakout, T-Pain. But this is the first artist. This wasn't the first band that I pitched. This is the first band that got approved.
How long did that take? How long did it take between the first artist you pitched?
I don't know. I have no clue, but it was a long road to get there because, it's NPR. And NPR has thankfully evolved in a lot of different ways. They've changed a lot of their perspectives and views on what belongs at NPR. But we weren't quite there yet, right? For me, I don't want to do the safe thing. I'm cool on that. I've never, when it comes to music, I don't believe in that. I believe in, you know, I know it's a buzzword, but I believe in disruption. I believe in doing the thing that's unexpected for NPR. And I think that foreign exchange, that was a very good sort of gateway to help open that door. Obviously, like I said, my coworker Franny had brought T-Pain not too long before this, but this really sort of proved that the stuff that I love not only belong, but the stuff that I love, there are millions of others out there that love it as well.
So that journey happens kind of quickly because you get to foreign exchange, and then can we get the next slide, please? So the next slide is, in fact, T-Pain.
Buy you a train, then I'ma take you home with me.
And what ends up happening is this takes off. And it takes off in ways that I imagine maybe surprised some of the people on the team. Do you want to talk about how big of a viral moment this was?
It was the first. It was the first real moment. It truly put Tiny Desk on the map. And I always say, if you ask me what Tiny Desk is, I point them to this because it's T-Pain. And if you know T-Pain, you know when you listen to his music, his voice is altered through auto-tune.
Autotune, most autotune, singer of the early aughts.
He helped to pioneer auto-tune. Not necessarily the first one to use it, but he was the first one to use it the way he used it, and it changed the music industry. And what my colleague Franny challenged him to do was to come in and do it without it, perform without auto-tune. And a lot of production, a lot of back and forth, he agreed to do it. And in that, when you take that away, there was this discovery that this dude, does not need auto-tune. He can
a generational
really
talent when it comes to singing, yeah.
He utilized it as a tool, and it helped sort of, it was his identity, but in that he just sat and sang, and it was completely stripped, not even drums, it was keys and that voice. And it was an eye-opening moment for the music industry, NPR, culture at large. It was, it changed the game for us.
She keep taking shots to the head, and I know that I can't keep up. One more drink and I'ma be dead. You're gonna see me walk out of this club. Whoa.
To me, that's a building moment, right? It's a building moment for a bunch of different ways. One of the key ways is people start to see T-Pain differently, but I think also people start to see Tiny Desk differently. Just the idea of like this space is for different people than it had traditionally been for. I think the first Tiny Desk concert that I really connected to was like Fantastic Negrito, which was like maybe a year later, and that was an incredible concert. But it takes building and it takes time to, especially in an institution like NPR, to say, right, you know what, this place can offer something to hip-hop fans, can offer something to Black audiences, and we are going to use it as such. Talk to me a little bit about those internal battles of trying to, get the story of Tiny Desk to be different.
Yeah, I think, again, going back to what belongs, traditionally NPR on the air, it's white and middle-aged, right? And they were doing this thing at the desk for so long, and when hip-hop, R&B flavor started to infiltrate and the audience started to react to those contentious situations in those boardrooms, they began to ease up, because it isn't just, we don't have to just do what eases our listeners' minds, you know what I mean? It's okay if our listening audience doesn't understand what's happening at the desk, because therein lies this YouTube audience that began to explode, the most diverse audience that NPR has ever seen. Our YouTube audience is over 50% people of color at this point. And we have yet to bridge that gap between the YouTube audience and our listening audience, but we still have an audience that NPR has always wanted. These young people of color, this true diversity, right? Like diversity in action. It wasn't, sure, it was strategized, but I don't know how far up the strategy started. It started with people like myself and my colleagues. So yeah, there were times when I heard, no, there's no way. I go back to this performance by Gucci Mane, right? Gucci Mane, for those of you who don't know, he is Atlanta trapper, you know what I mean? Hardcore hip hop, street hip hop. He's a street rapper. And Franny, the woman who produced the T-Pain concert, she invited Gucci Mane.
2 AK-47s and a blowtorch. A couple jackets knocking hard on my front porch. A couple old schools in my backyard. If I don't know you, I'ma serve you through my burglar bars.
Now, Gucci Mane, just months prior, he had just been released from federal prison, but he served his time, and he makes great music. And there was a real internal battle at NPR. There were people who were there who did not want that to happen. But I wouldn't say it's one of the best Tiny Desks of all time because we hadn't quite mastered how to do hip hop at the Tiny Desk, but it was proof of concept that there was a way. You know, there were pieces of that show that really, really helped to shape what we do now, especially with hip hop. And also, again, it belonged. It belonged. So, yeah, there were some rough battles. I heard some wild shit, but like, we're here.
Not only are you here, I mean, like you are, I think, a crucial stop along the sort of promotional tour for a lot of artists at this point. And I want to return to that idea because when you frame these internal battles, I think they're quite often framed in something is lost in order to make room for this. It's not like you stopped doing the MJ Lenderman, Tiny Desk. You still do, and like I love MJ Lenderman, but you do that, but also you do Maddie McFerrin. You know what I mean? Like you make room, and you figure out how to sort of navigate all those things. How do you position Tiny Desk to say it's actually possible for us to do all of those things, as opposed to the idea that you got to sacrifice something to make room for something?
Yeah,
else?
and I think that was a lot of the issue. There was a fear that something would be lost. I'm a DJ. I am a DJ first. And in that, I'm a DJ who loves all types of music. So the way that I always looked at how we curate is from a DJ lens. It's a DJ set, and there's room for everything. Every single genre, there's something that an audience can gravitate towards, an audience can attach themselves to. There's greatness in all of these genres. And we just wanted to achieve a balance. There was a void. There clearly was a void because the audience said so. And the audience didn't say, we don't want this, we don't want indie, we just want other things that sort of align with what I'm listening to, because having conversations with so many music lovers out there, no one likes just one thing. We all have pretty eclectic tastes for the most part, even if it's just not a balanced diet. I listen to, if you listen to mostly hip hop, there is something that, that hip hopper may love Tame Impala too. You know what I mean? So we just wanted to provide a balance, bro. And I think we're, myself and the rest of my team, we've been able to, every day I look at our calendar and say, okay, how can we achieve this balance out of 3 per week? Yeah.
When I think about Tiny Desk and maybe the position it occupies, it immediately suggests to me a gigantic slate of resources. And one of the interesting things that you
yeah.
I mean, dude, that you have Adele walking through the door. I go like, they're able to pull gigantic names. But then but one of the things that you were saying backstage is that billions of views, not a dollar earned in terms of the revenue over the years. And I think that's a surprising thing for people to know. But the background to that is the initial deal that Tiny Desk made in 2008 is being like, hey, labels, please come. You can get the revenue from the artists when they appear on Tiny Desk. Now all of a sudden, labels are making that revenue, and you're like,
they don't want to let it go.
It'd be nice as if you got a bit of that revenue. But that's the example of resources. Resources are not cameras. Resources are legal support to go fight a battle and say, hey, can we take a little bit larger of a cut of the revenue of the very successful artists who come through the door? Talk to me about the resources and why you were laughing so hard when I go, hey, you must have so many resources, and you're like, nah, we don't have that many.
It's just it's great to hear. You know, I love talking to people about this and hear about their assumptions about what's happening in the background. It's made it easy. I don't regret. Obviously, we've been grandfathered in this deal, and now we deal with a music industry that wasn't thriving the way it was in 2008, and now there's a music industry that's trying to hold on to every single penny. The artists don't get paid anything anymore. You know what I mean? Streaming, you name it. Who knows where the money goes? But wherever it's going, it's not coming to us. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you know, I think we're still growing. I'm 16 years in. It's good to know that we're still learning. And one of the most compelling things about what has happened with Tiny Desk is that it's happening at national public radio. Mm-hmm. It's happening in public radio, non-profit, no money. So,
Yep.
so it's we're still learning, we're still developing. I think that sentiment is starting to creep up to the people who pull the levers, and they understand the dilemma now, and hopefully we'll get somewhere, because it's not a money machine.
The idea that it's not a money machine, and then you also get images like this one. Let's move on to the next image. That's watch this. That's Usher. That's Usher back in 2022. I didn't do the entire thing. I wouldn't do that to you. Look, you've had some incredibly memorable R&B performances, but also, dude, that's Usher. You know, like, you managed to get Usher in the chair. The idea, like, hearing that you have that kind of opportunity and you still don't have the, all the resources available to you to do something like that. How do you get Usher to say yes when you're still building this institution?
What happened with Usher after that show, I always say Usher didn't need this person. He's Usher. He was Usher before he got here.
He was selling out Vegas residencies before.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. He didn't, and that's for a lot of the artists that I talk to, especially the ones that I'm really, really pursuing. They don't necessarily need this, but in addition to the way we look at Tiny Desk as a platform for discovery, I also look at it as a platform to remind folks of what greatness looks like. You know what I mean? Like what true legends do when you give them the platform.
You ain't got to call. It's okay, girl, 'cause I'ma be alright tonight. Oh.
It wasn't a hard sell for Usher. It was one of those old school methods. Usher was in town for Something in the Water Festival, Pharrell's festival. That's the one year it was in Washington, D.C. This guy came in right before sound check for his show at Something in the Water and knocked that out. Just like, and I always, like, of all the people who have played it, that is the most professional artist I've ever seen in person. Nothing's calculated, but it's all like, the moment, obviously, this is the watch this moment blew up. The moment that always gets me is that when he takes his glasses off. And there's like this audible gasp in the room. And it's like, and he knows it. He knows what he's doing. And I'll say this too. There was a hiccup in the show where he stumbled. But this is just how much of a professional Usher is. After we wrapped, he goes, hey, I messed up on this part, but I picked back up on the one, so it's easy for you to cut it. I said,
he was editing on the go.
Nah, Usher is really him.
But also, like, a moment like this one, and the fact that Usher, it was not a hard sell for you to do.
Yeah.
Is, like, that's a reflection of the place that Tiny Desk occupies in the culture, right? Which is to say, You have labels that say, hey, we want to do Tiny Desk. How can we figure out a room to do it? You know, you've become this interesting case study where you've taken this platform that has historically catered to white audiences, and you've opened it up not only to Black and other racialized communities, but also at the same time, by championing this, you've not made it feel tokenistic, so that when the email comes out, you know, and you're trying to reach those artists, they're not only do they feel safe, they go, yeah, that's a place for me. I also belong there. How do you do that? What are some of the strategies you use to do that?
One of the things I love to see when we, if you know, you name it, whoever is at the platform, is when our audience, I spend a lot of time in our comments, and they go, damn, I didn't know NPR knew about this. Who is at NPR who knows about Bilal? Who knows? Like, that is like the sense of pride that I carry when I see that. But it's because I always want people to know that there are people who are of the culture working at NPR. I am a regular dude born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, who went to an HBCU, who just loves music. I was given nothing. I just love this thing. I am passionately obsessed with music, all forms and all types. So I think that the strategy is just having people who understand an audience, who are also a part of the audience, who have an opportunity to speak for them. You know what I mean? And early on when I started, I was a handful. You know, I started at NPR the summer of 2000. I've been at NPR for 25 years. And when I walked into the building 25 years ago, there was only one or two me's there. You know what I'm saying? Young Black kids who came from an HBCU, came from the inner city. And thankfully, NPR has grown, in a sense, in diversity, where there are other people who can relate to my experience. So I think once you invite people to work there who experience and come from these backgrounds, that's when you'll see the product change. It's not gonna be the high level execs. It's not gonna be the audience that normally listens to NPR, because they don't necessarily understand this. You gotta get people to understand the product. And it ain't corny. Like I make sure like I'm not doing anything that's corny and nothing performative. If we're gonna do this, there has to be somebody, whether it's me or somebody on my team, that's passionate about it.
It's also not lost on me that it takes time, right? Like that T-Pain moment, that was 10 years ago, right? And you do that once, T-Pain blows up, great. But that doesn't mean you stop doing it, because that's when it's performative, when you do it one time. But when you invest the energy and the time into it, the idea that you spend 8 to 10 years saying, no, this is one of the most trusted and respected hubs for Black audiences, that's a thing that takes a lot of time. Do you have any advice for, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, also, when you see a moment like that, I get it a lot now after the Usher situation. It's like, how do we create more moments like that? You don't. They just happen. So many publicists ask me, like, how can we create a viral moment? We haven't created viral moments. They just happen. So it's like...
You're not chasing them.
I'm not chasing any of that. We want to put on a great musical performance. We have a show coming up. I don't know if it's going to be viral, but we had an artist the other day. Usually when the artists perform, they talk a little bit in between. Like, that's one of the great things I love about what we do. You're able to tell a story throughout your entire performance. You get 15 minutes to really do you behind the desk. But this artist didn't say a word in between the songs. And finally, after the third song, I'm talking to his manager. I was like, yo, what's going on? He's just performing. Like, the audience, I don't know if you guys know, but like, on the other side of the camera, the audience that's just NPR employees, right? And they're waiting for you. Just say something, and they'll explode. So finally, after the third song, I just go up. I go, yo, cut. And I whisper in his ear, it's like, you can talk. Like, you can talk to them. You don't have to rush through. Still didn't do anything. After the round of applause, after the last song, he burst into tears. And I was like, damn, he couldn't. He was just, the emotion would have just came out. And by the way, this is a rapper who I have never seen show any emotion like that other than just like he's a feel-good rapper, but like he just burst into tears. And he goes, F y'all, you guys are making me cry, and just burst into tears. So, so it's those are moments you just cannot create. They just have to happen, but the intimacy of the space allows it to happen.
And the infrastructure, right? Like, so
Yeah.
by regularly having those people in,
Correct.
that's how you create those opportunities. Okay, I've got a few minutes for audience questions, and hands shoot up. Dominic is going to be in charge of picking who.
I just see light right here, but you look good.
Hey, thank you. Chris Jackson, CBC Radio, congratulations on all of your success and the success of Tiny Desk.
Thank you, Chris.
Few questions. The first one is, I'm curious how the audio is handled. I imagine you got a laptop, you multi-track it. Is there a lot of post? Okay.
Yes, all posts. We have brilliant engineers. The one great thing that we've always prided ourselves in, and even when we began to build the thing, is that it's radio. So we have, the building is littered with amazing engineers. So we have a technical director, we have engineers, we have a technical director who runs the show, and then we have like an A2, an engineer to kind of back them up. So before every show, everything is set up. You know, we have a backline of instruments. Everything is sort of set up when the artists just have to pretty much plug and play when they get in. But everything is meticulously mic'd, from the drums, amps, that kind of thing. But it's all mixed in post. And nothing goes out without, obviously we have, we have the editorial choice on whether or not it goes out, but we don't want any artist to have anything to come out from a sound perspective that they aren't happy with. So yeah, we spend a lot of time, thanks to our great engineers, like really, really mixing that thing.
Awesome. And just real quick follow-up. I'm a strong believer that street culture dictates pop culture.
Indeed.
After 25 years, are you still fighting the same battles with colleagues to get what you want on air?
Nah, because we doing numbers, man.
That's a flex, but all right.
When you see what Scarface did, like, I'm not arguing with you. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about?
Mary, 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 Mary. I love Mary, 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 Mary. Happy just to hear your name. I need to hear you say.
Like, hip hop has changed the platform. You know what I mean? And I'm like, these unconscious bias, I'm walking through those lines right now because the proof is in the pudding.
I think we got another question over here.
Hey, what's good? I'm Jabari.
How you doing, Jabari?
Yeah, I'm good. I have a question for you. So, in that come up time where you guys were like trying to break through and get through to these guys for your culture and stuff, bro, how did you weather those storms? Like, what was that process like? How did you cope with it? And what were some of the strategies that you guys implemented to finally get that breakthrough yes moment?
Jabari's asking because he's going through it, bro. I can hear it in your voice.
100%, absolutely.
Nah, man, it's real, especially if you are built like me, and I'm sure you are. Like, you care about this. Like, you care too much. Like, I get it. And it just takes time. And it's just not necessarily playing the game, but there's ways to do it. Like, foreign exchange, they didn't know, like, Fonte, one of the members of the group, he sang R&B, but he was also an incredible MC. You know what I mean? So it's really figuring out how to get what you want in other ways. It can't just be, it has to be a gradual thing. We go foreign exchange, we go Gucci Mane, we go Meg Thee Stallion, and then now it's like, okay, now we have examples. Our audience is responding to it, so what are you gonna say now? You know what I mean? So it just takes time, and it's painful. And it's the story of our culture, right? It's the story of hip hop culture. I'm not the only one dealing with it. There are people who I work with who were on those battle lines with me who said, well, this feels very familiar. It just takes time. I wish I had a solid answer for you other than looking in the mirror every day, breaking through whatever that intimidation is, breaking through whatever the feeling that these organizations make you feel, to feel smaller or less than or not. Whatever it is, it's breaking through that and staying convicted, bro. Like, they got tired of me talking about this shit. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm in this position for a reason. So, and I'm not the only one. There were plenty of people who stood beside me to help us get to this point.
I think Jabari was looking for like a magical set of words you could say that makes it register, and you're like, keep saying it for 10 years, you know?
Just keep chipping away. Working in corporate America, doing this thing is no joke.
Foreign exchange, and then Gucci Mane, and then Usher. But every year you send out a tweet, and I want to take a look at this tweet, because this tweet is you every single year being like, you know what I need on the Tiny Desk is Anita Baker. It still hasn't happened yet. First of all, why Anita? Tell me about this.
It's so painful. It is, that is just, Anita Baker is one of those touch points that really, really just made me fall in love with music. That like, there's just a feeling that I get when I listen to Anita Baker that takes me back to my 6-year-old self sitting in the living room while my mother's cooking, and that record is on the record player, and I'm just sitting back like, I've never felt this before. You know what I mean? And also, I've seen Anita Baker performing a couple years ago. That voice has gone nowhere. She's still brilliant. I've tried everything. I've tried everything. You know, Anita, she ain't popping out. She don't pop out a lot. Like, she's not out a lot. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I got really close when we had Babyface. And even Babyface told me, good luck, bruh. So, but, you know, there are others. There are the Sade's of the world. There are the Stevie Wonders, Neil Young. There are so many artists that sort of sit in that same space that I'm, like, desperately trying to get. And that's one of the things that kind of keeps me, like, really, really right there and, like, so passionate about this thing that I do, because we haven't done the thing yet.
I'll tell you this, that, sitting there earlier this year thinking, it's a sad thing that we're not going to get to see on live television or video any new Tracy Chapman performances. And lo and behold, what do the heavens give us but a moment that is, historic, unexpected. I still keep revisiting it at the Grammy stage. And so this is your moment to shoot your shot. For some reason, Anita Baker's listening to this podcast. I don't know how it got to her. And she's about to hear your plea to make your shot and say, Anita, please, Tiny Desk, what is your plea?
Anita, you know you mean everything to me. I just don't know if I would be in this position if I didn't have this love in my heart for music if it wasn't for your music. I need you. Come on. What do you want? Please, baby, please.
Bobby Carter, everybody.